Today, we're going to be focusing on the rising tensions with the Nigerian ruling party, the APC. As the road to 2027, the general election begins to take shape, a lot has been happening in other political parties, including the APC. Now, while the APC remains firmly in power at the federal level, recent developments have exposed growing cracks in the party's internal structure. From power struggles to regional grievances and early secession maneuvers, this is beginning, I would say, to test the party's unity. A key moment just days ago, now at the APC's Northeast Consultative meeting in Gombe on June 15th, where chaos erupted after delegates expressed anger over the exclusion of Vice President Kashim Shettima in early 2027 endorsements. Now, that disruption wasn't just symbolic, it reflected broader concerns about zoning, recognition, and strategic positioning ahead of the next political cycle. These tensions are not isolated to one zone across the party. There's increasing unease about who calls the shots, who gets rewarded, and what direction the APC is headed in the post-Tinubu era. To help us make sense of all of this and to throw more light on it, how it affects the 2027 election, a future prediction of 2027 election, what is happening in the APC, the future of APC in the long run, and what this means for our political space and our democracy. We're joined by Nurudeen Aliyu Hammanyero, an engineer, committed APC stalwart, a political analyst and public policy strategist, and also the CEO and founder of Trends Regional Energy Limited. Now, joining us this morning, he brings a wealth of experience from both the world of business and from within the political system, but we are focused on the political system. So yes, thank you very much, Nurudeen, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, this morning we're looking at the APC with a clear mirror, and we're looking at the cracks and what this means for the APC in the future. Would you say there are cracks in the APC at this point in time?
If I would call it cracks, but they will be minor. Okay. I wouldn't look at it as major cracks that will be very much disturbing. Rather, I will call it minor cracks as a result of misunderstanding or miscommunication. And hopefully, if in a few days, the party will really bring its leadership together to address it, because whenever there is a misinformation or misunderstanding, certainly what happened in Gombe is bound to happen. But certainly if the party will bring the leadership together, bring the parties together, is an easy thing to reconcile, and then maintain the good trajectory the party has been having for the past months, where we receive a lot of defectors from different states, from different parties coming into the APC, and we were jubilating, but what happened in Gombe, I don't think is something that, it worries everybody, including me, but it's something we can overcome easily.
So there was an exclusion of the vice president, from the APC ticket endorsement. How would you describe that? Does it signal a real faction revolt, or it was just a localized frustration at the moment?
Yeah, I will also accept the exclusion, as you rightly say it. And as much as I wouldn't want to put blames on individuals concerning what happened, but at the same time, to look at the nitty-gritty of what happened that day, we can't discuss it with honesty and then avoid mentioning names. That being said, what happened that day is there is really, I will call it a desperation from the host, because who started the whole thing in the event was the governor of Gombe State, who was our host. And in his speech, he deliberately, avoided, as much as he tries to eulogize the vice president, but when it comes to his endorsement, he only told, I'm sure, I don't know if he knows what he was doing as at the moment when he endorses the president in exclusion of the vice president. But if I want to make a reference to what his colleagues did in the villa, because the whole endorsement started with the villa. If he was following the direction of what the progressive governors chairman did, and then the Northern Progressive chairman also did, which was Obasani and Hope Uzodinma. They did so with clarity at the villa. And if only he had toed that line, he would, so many things would have been avoided that day. Because what happened in the villa was clear. There was endorsement, and ask yourself, why was there no resistance at the villa concerning the vice president? The clarity at the villa was this: we endorse the president, and we are going to make sure nobody contests with him in the primaries. That was the villa endorsement. And Vice President Kashi Shettima knows that he is not contesting for president in 2027. So if his principal is confirmed to be the only APC, contestant in the primaries come 2027, why will he worry? Why will his supporters or loyalists raise any, concerns or even protest? There was no reason, because there was clarity. And that's why I started by telling you miscommunication and misunderstanding. So what the governor of Gombe State did was towing the line, but without making emphasis on the clarity.
All right. Now, this clarity, sorry to interrupt you, but this clarity and this miscommunication, I would say Nigeria is very, very conscious about things concerning equity and regional balance, and especially when it comes to the political space and equal representation. This has sparked a lot of concerns. But for the APC that have held strong to zoning principle, what does this say?
Yeah. The 2023 general election, the concerns were Muslim ticket by so many, which has led to some people leaving the party or some staying in the party but indulge in anti-party, voting for the Labour Party or going for the PDP just to spite at the APC because they were not happy with the Muslim ticket. But now, in politics, we are progressing. And part of progress is you understand that what you are thinking, if really your concern is being taken care of and what you are thinking did not really come to happen, because the Muslim ticket, those who went against it were of the concern, okay, Nigeria is going to be Islamized, Muslims are this. But I tell you the truth, we are seeing today, 2 years down the line, who has it affected? Who is complaining? In fact, if there is anything complained, for the past 2 years or 2 years down the line to this moment we are speaking, is some of the Muslims who fought, tooth and nail for the Muslim ticket, because they don't get to see anything, for example, maybe that will favor perhaps their aspirations, if there was anything they are looking at. But the president is on a steady course. That was just a political calculation to achieve victory, and it is not in any way to favor one religion, on the other. But he is bent on bringing development to the country. So now, if that is the case, should there be any reason to change the Muslim ticket? I don't think it's necessary. It's a ticket. They have jointly worked together, rubbed minds together. That same reason that led the president in selecting the VP as his running mate, I don't think there's anything that has changed. So
you're saying that there are fears on the part of the VP that he's most likely not included as the running mate of the president, hence the attitude of the Gombe governor and his supporters? Yeah, but again, what I'm trying to tell you now is this. Mischievous people are always very good in hanging on the little of mistakes. When Gombe State governor did that, expectedly, the national chairman should have addressed it, because when Gombe State governor made his own endorsement, there were a couple of people, especially at the back, that were already raising tensions. But I don't think it was well noticed on the high table or by the people sitting at the front row. Now, when the national vice chairman, which was the backbreaker, said it, his statement was an innocent statement. You can look at it from the legal point of view, because he made closer to when he made the endorsement, he said some very good things about the vice president. Our son, and we stand by him.
The same thing he did to the National Security Advisor. So now ask yourself, or people who are angry should also ask themselves, if he will stand by the vice president, why will he not endorse him? And that's why I called if there is anything mistake on his side, it's an innocent mistake. Because when he said, we stand by him as our son, it means we stand by him all the way. And when he comes to make the statement that the executives of the zonal committee should stand up to help him in this endorsement, some people stood up. I don't think if it is all, because I don't actually know the number. And when he was making the endorsement and he says solely, I'm also connecting it to the endorsement of the speaker, the Senate president, and other executive or other leaders of the APC with what happened at the villa. But the mistake here is, that was why I call it the backbreaker. Inwayaya said it. There was no mention of the VP. And when Comrade Mustafa Saliu said it, made his own endorsement, that was like the final stroke. But it was an innocent statement, because ordinarily people should expect, and that's why I'm also connecting it to the law. There is nothing like vice president. It has always been the president, and the vice president connects with him. They share the ticket. So when you say you endorse the president, but you, in your statement before that, you said we stand by the president, it means they are together. But you know, that understanding needed, if only it has also come with clarity, perhaps people wouldn't have raised that kind of tension that will lead to violence. Now, the national chairman, if there is mistake, there should be correction. Where the national vice chairman is deemed to have made his mistake, the governor made their mistake, the national chairman in his speech should have also corrected it. And it means nothing to make that correction. It takes nothing, because when there was tension and chairs were flying over people's heads, he would have calmed the situation, because, and you can imagine, I don't know if, I'm sure people must have seen those videos, when the deputy national chairman, who was the next speaker, took the mic and said, and that was the wisest thing in any circumstances when things like this are playing out. He said, our endorsement is Tinubu, Kashim, Shettima, and it became like a music in the hall, and tensions were doused.
All right.
So I think an innocent mistake by the national vice chairman that wouldn't, if only it was corrected immediately, wouldn't have led to all these tensions. But again, we have to come together, even if at this moment nobody chooses who becomes vice president. It is the sole prerogative of the president to choose who becomes his vice president. But now that we have not seen any form of tensions between the two, or I asked somebody just yesterday, can you tell me one thing you have seen Kashim does that you can say clearly for this reason he might not be given a second chance? They couldn't say it. So I'm looking at it, let's allow these things to play out. And people who are scheming for this position should be concerned about the party in its general form instead of themselves, because it will affect the party. We are already having a lot of tensions as a result of the coalition brewing from every corner of the country. And if we begin to have this internal disorganization, it's really going to affect us. So I think it is good for us to come together immediately, reconcile these aggrieved members, and if there is anything to correct, surely it will come also from the presidency. Yes, we need to see the president also talk about it, which will give a lot of energy to the party. The party leadership at the national level should also talk about it, reconcile these members, and the APC should move forward. All
right, now at this point, is it time, let's take off your cap as the APC stalwart and let's give it an outer look.
Yeah.
We have the Labour Party having their own internal factions. We have the PDP dealing with their own on a different level.
Yeah.
And it seems like the APC is joining the wagon. I mean, we have all our major political parties dealing with one thing or another, while still putting their focus on 2027. Especially coming with the APC and seeing that this is more like a zoning issue happening at the moment, and we know how Nigerians are big on that. What does this say about our democracy and the inclusive politics that Nigerians have been pushing for? What does this that happened in Gombe say about inclusivity and the democracy we have at the moment?
Yeah, our democracy is gradually evolving, and with sincerity, I will tell you, the level at which we progress democratically, I'm personally not happy with it, because 26 years down the line, we should have, as a country of 300 plus million in population, and with the resources we have, and with the level of education Nigerians have, you know, drawing expertise from every angle of life, we shouldn't be, you know, moving at the pace we are now. Also, this democracy has evolved over this is like the fourth generation, which is the most steady one, counting down 26 years. Now, the issue of inclusivity can only, you know, be achieved meaningfully if we grow to this extent that we push away anything that will divide us as a people. And this division always comes because we have mischievous people at any given point of our life in this country. You know, when we stop talking about religion, we stop talking about region, and we look at competency. You know, when we can dwell on competency, a leader who will be competent, who will have the capacity, compassion towards his people, then it will shock you. We may even have somebody from, let me look at which one is the, let's say, I can't call the, let's say, North Central. In the North, I think in numbers they are less. Or let me look at Benue State, for example, where we are can produce successive presidents. It wouldn't matter. I hope we'll get to see that in Nigeria, you know, as time goes on. That's if we concentrate on competency. Because this inclusivity, this concern that it has to be my person, it has to be our people, it must be my religion, our culture is disconnected, is really holding the country backward. And it has never helped. And it will never help. So at the moment, if the APC, our party in power, will continue to offer dividend of democracy to Nigerians and do it, you know, without any concern of, I'm a Yoruba person, so it must come 60% with the Yoruba people. Or these people voted me the most, they must get the most from. If the party will look at it, that these are what makes Nigeria are these 6 regions. And every aspect of these 6 regions have their own resources, and their people are also well educated. They may not have the chance to produce a president because of the number, if we are going this way. But if we concentrate on what do they have, how can we improve them, what would they contribute to the country, economy, what would, you know, these indices are there lying for somebody to just, you know, utilize. So if our party will also look at that to improve on all the 6 regions, believe you me, it might not take place now, but maybe in the next 2-3 terms that will come after this government, we'll get to see people not looking at are you a Muslim?
Indeed. You know, we're looking forward to that point in Nigerian politics where religion, culture, ethnic groups would have no matter, but we'll look at quality of leaders and what they can offer. Now, in conclusion, before we go, let's look at future projections. We're not sure of how what is happening in APC would play out in the next couple of weeks. For all we know, it might be more or it might be less. And we know how dynamic Nigeria's political space can be, where anything can change at any moment. With this supposed cracks pulling through on the APC, we see what is playing out in other parties. What do you see playing out in 2027? Do you think APC still stands a chance? Yes.
In fact, the chances are so much that I will tell you, I will put it on a 70-30. 70-30 because, you know, 16 years of the PDP government, they have done what they can do as a party. And yes, you can't condemn everything in totality. We had, when you want to analyze those 16 years, you have to look at the leadership, you look at the resources, you look at the achievement, you look at there are so many things you look at. And coming down to to this administration, 8 years of President Buhari, now 2 years, which is 10 years, you also look at the available resources, the leadership, the achievement, what was not achieved, why. Now, if you are looking at all these things, the APC has done well. The APC has done well. Is if the only thing is, you know, for the average Nigerian who doesn't understand processing.
So what is the future projection? The
future projection, when you say future projection, I don't really know what you mean.
For all the parties, seeing that they all have fractures going on, do you see this mending before 2027?
I really want democracy to thrive, meaning that being said, I mean, opposition should stay opposition, which is good for democracy, and build their ideology. Ruling party should improve on their dividend of democracy to still affirm their stand with the Nigerian people so that they continue to take the advantage and then offer what is supposed to be. But opposition should stay opposition, and because that is necessary for check and balances. People shouldn't be crossing over because they are not happy, they want to come and find peace. It's really affecting democracy. Yes, with what is happening, if you ask me, are we tilting towards a one-party system? I will tell you also 70-30. And it's also not a good thing for democracy. So because as we were not in power 16 years ago, or let's say 16 years of PDP wasn't APC. Now it means God gives power and takes power. Meaning a time will come that we will not be in power, another party will be in power. So how are we going to manage that when it comes? So now that this is our time, we should do it well, but also accept criticism from opposition and look at it objectively, because that will help the Nigerian people, and that's what democracy is.
Thank you very much, Nurudeen, for joining us this morning and speaking objectively on the issue at hand. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
To our dear listeners out there, I hope you've been able to pick something from our conversation this morning. Do stay tuned. Right after the break, we're going to be taking a look at stories that made it to the front pages of our dailies. We'll be right back.